If I give you love and understanding, I'm more likely to get that in return. It's a theory of reciprocation, is that I usually get what I give. If I walk down the street and I put my finger out and I give somebody the finger and say, hey, screw you. You know, you're just such an idiot. And I don't even know this person. What do you think I'm going to get in return? You think I'm going to get a kind, hey, nice to see you, and thank you very much for sharing that message with me? No, that's not what I'm going to get. I'm likely going to get the finger, or even worse, in return. I practice this in so many settings. I have a story that I can't get into right now because we don't have enough time, but it was with one of the most hardened criminals that our jurisdiction had ever met. And I met him on a cold October night, and he could have killed me. He could have taken me and actually ripped my limbs off. This is how powerful and mean this man was. I'll give you the end notes to the story. We became friends, and I actually started taking this man to church. And that was the power of really giving something to him, identifying a need in him, and treating him with dignity and respect. So when we think about navigating conflict, let's think about really truly trying to connect with one another. Let's talk also about the internal conflict within you. And I'm going to respect your time. I've got a little clock going here, so please let me know if I'm over the time. But I want to talk about inner conflict. I'm a negotiator. I used to negotiate with hostage takers. I used to negotiate with terrorists. I've negotiated in business, and I've negotiated in life, and so have you. When you take a look at a negotiation, what is a negotiation? A negotiation, simply put, is when two or more people gather together to reach an agreement or to resolve a conflict. That is a negotiation. You started negotiating the moment you heard the word no and you could speak. When you asked for that extra slice of cake, when you asked to stay up a little bit later at night. Now, you might not have been negotiating very well. You might have turned into that needy type of person, says, oh, please, please, please. But as you grew older, we discovered the ways to negotiate on a one-to-one, to negotiate with maturity, to negotiate with that understanding. Let's get back to the relationship. I talk about this a lot in my keynotes, is that negotiating with a business client is very much like a first date and dates in general. How so? Well, if you ask someone out, you are taking a risk, right? You're stepping in and you're saying, hey, I would like to meet with you. I would like to sit down with you to see if there's a connection here, to see if we could work together, whether we could develop a relationship, and whether I have something that you need and you have something that I need. That's what you do on a business negotiation. When you ask someone out for a date, you're essentially doing the same thing. It's not business, but it's to see whether or not the two of you connect. There's an attraction there. There is something that you like and that you would like to explore even more, just like the business. So you ask for their time. And if they give you their time, that means that they're interested as well. So imagine yourself in, I am the best thing since sliced bread. I am the best thing. You know what? You don't have to look anywhere else for anyone, because I am your answer to that list of conditions that you have for your dates. That's me. If you did that, do you think that you'd get a second date? I'm going to say no. You're not going to get a second date. In fact, the person may just get up and leave, right? What if you did the same thing in business? If you walked in and said, listen, I've got all your solutions. I know exactly what you need. And here's my proposal right here. This is what you need. What do you think the other person's going to say? The other business people, what do you think they're going to say? Well, number one, they're going to say, you didn't even listen to me. You never asked me any questions about what it is that I need and what it is that I'm struggling with. So I can't trust you, and I don't like you, and this meeting is over. So that is the negotiation. You got to turn around and really, truly show interest in the person that you're communicating with. This applies to your business as much as it applies to your personal situation, your loved ones, the person that you are married to, your children. Really, truly listen to them. Remember that they are more similar than they are different to you, and that you get what you give. So if you are truly listening to them, they're going to truly listen to you. Apply this in your daily life. Now let's talk about conflict. I'm going to give you a very brief story because I think I have a couple of minutes, but it's a personal story with me. When I was on the police service, I was a patrol sergeant. I had a platoon of about 32 men and women working for me. And we were gathered one night to go out on patrol, and I did roll call. And this simply means assigning different police officers different tasks. And so once I had given everybody their tasks and brought them up to date on the things that we had to look out for and some of the news and some of the cautions that I gave, I asked my platoon, does anybody have anything they would like to add? And this one guy who worked in our tactical unit, you know, the ones with the great big machine guns and the ones, the SWAT guys. Well, he was one of them. And two of them used to join us on our patrols. And he raised his hand very reluctantly and he said, "I do, Sarge." And I said, "Okay, what's up?" He says, "Listen, I'm not supposed to say this, but there is a group of men, there's bandits out there who are targeting Brinks trucks, and they have explosives and they have lots of weapons, and they won't hesitate to shoot to kill. They will find a truck, they'll surround the truck, they'll blow it open, they'll grab the loot, and they're gone. We're not supposed to talk about that. I just wanted to let you guys know." Well, that took me by shock. It took me by surprise. How dare we not be told about the dangers that our police officers might encounter on the street? Who told you? Our inspector told us not to say anything. They're investigating it, and that's why we're out here. And I said, no, this is not right. I went to my staff sergeant and I said, "Staff, it turns out that the intelligence branch has been holding back serious information from us. This could have cost one of my police officers their lives if they would have responded to a Brinks truck in need. They might not have realized the danger that they were going into." And so my staff sergeant said, Paul, we don't want to cause any waves. We don't want to do anything. And I said, "No, I'm sorry. I can't live with that. We have to communicate." So I asked to speak to the chief of police, and I was granted a meeting with the deputy chief. Now, in the meantime, the inspector who was in charge of giving this order that information not be shared with the uniform branch wrote the most scathing letter about me. It was horrific, and it was going into my permanent file. He called me every name in the book, and I thought, this is a career killer. He's an inspector. He's called me names. He said that I'm incapable. He's like, I couldn't believe it. So when I had the meeting with the deputy chief, he had the report in his hand, and I knew the deputy, and he looked at me with a great big smile on his face, and he went, "Paul, this is one of the worst letters I have ever read or received." And I said, "Yeah, I know. It's got to be really bad. Is it going into my personal file?" He said, "No, it's not." He took the letter and he tore it up. He says, "I know you, and you were right in doing what you did. And from now on, we are going to have a policy where information like this will be shared between the different branches within our police service." That was a lifesaver. I still had a problem. I had a problem and a conflict with this staff sergeant. And I knew that I had to work with this guy. I'd run into him. He was in the same building. And so I thought to myself, well, what do? I have an enemy within. My enemy is not outside there today. It's right in here. I have a conflict with another human being. I could have chosen not to do anything about it, but I did something about it. I decided that I was going to approach this inspector, not apologize, but I was going to explain my perspective and why I did what I did. So I gathered that courage, that bravery, and I waited for him because I knew that he was going out to the parking lot one night to get to his car, and I waited there for him, and he came down, and I saw him, and I said, "Staff, Inspector, I just want to let you know that I I'm sorry that it hurt you, but I had to do what I did for these reasons. And I hope that we can work amicably together. And I left it, not thinking anything more of it. 6 months later, I was looking for a transfer because I hated uniform. I wanted to get back into the detective office where I'd once been. And an opportunity arose in the sexual assault and child abuse unit. They were looking for a detective. And I thought, this is great. Oh, I'd love to apply for that job. So I connected with one of the detectives who was interested in trading spots. He wanted to leave the sexual assault unit and get some experience in the uniform branch as a sergeant. And I wanted to take his spot. Hey, great, right? Just a clean, quick transfer. Problem was, I said, well, who's your boss? I got to write a letter to your boss. He said, well, it's Ron Rollauer. And Ron Rollauer was the inspector I had the conflict with 6 months earlier, the one that I approached. He didn't give me the time of day. He just looked at me, he nodded, and he gruffed, and he walked away. And I thought, oh boy, what do I do? Well, I put in the application regardlessly, put it in, and a few days later, I received notification that I was being transferred into the sexual assault and child abuse unit, that this inspector, who was now in charge of this division, had accepted me. When I got to the office the first day to do my work, he called me into his office. Come on in here, Nadeau. And I went in and he says, I just want to tell you how grateful I am that you will be working with us. And I look forward to working with you. Welcome to the sexual assault unit. Your stay here is 6 months, and let me know if there's anything I can do for you. That was it. After 6 months, he came to me and he said, I want you here full time. And I said, yes, you do. And I took over that position on a more permanent basis. All this to say that had I chosen to run away from conflict, I would never have made it to the sexual assault and child abuse unit. I never would have gained that reputation that I did in that unit by helping so many other people out, so many victims of crime. Wouldn't have learned the things that I did. But I stepped into that bravery, and you must do the same thing. Think to yourself, is there something in your life that you need to face? And there is okay. I will pause it here. And I would like to just turn this thing off and just remind you that the topic today was stepping into our greatness by navigating through conflict. Uncertainty, I just want to add a few words to uncertainty. Life is uncertain. We don't know what tomorrow brings. We don't know what the next 5 minutes brings. I didn't know that alarm would set off and it would create a little bit of a disturbance. I knew it was going to flash. I thought I had it on silent. The point is, things are going to happen to us. We can't focus on the outcome. The thing is, we cannot focus on the outcome because the outcome is not within our control. What is within our control are things that we have immediate access to. That's our feelings, our responses, and just saying, I can control this. I can't control that. So let me focus on the things that I can control and not focus on the things that I cannot control. And those would be my words to you. I would love to speak. You can tell that I like to speak, and I could probably speak for another hour or two on this topic. No, hell, I could speak on this topic for another 2 hours easily.
Paul, what an amazing, amazing journey you've had in your career and your life. I'm going to pass it over to Heather, but just honor you. Thank you for making time for us as always, and you are the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justine. Thank you, Paul, for joining us. Yes, you have an extraordinary story many times over, and all the times that you've been able to transfer your skills and your abilities and your wisdom in various parts and various careers in your job just shows how brave you are, because, you know, transitioning from workplaces is a brave thing to do. And really to keep learning and staying in that momentum really allows us to, understand the fear and then move past it. And the more we do that, then the more comfortable we can be in understanding and feeling what anxiety feels like or what fear feels like, and then having those thoughts within ourselves to have those discussions of, limiting beliefs, or am I just feeling anxiety and fear, which I can get past? And I think in the past, we've talked about that. And so, even the most confident people, like as you are, and all the things that you've done, we all have those conversations with ourselves. So I just want to say thank you again for being here. You're just truly the embodiment of brave leadership. And you have a question or an answer, but I was going to ask you, what does brave, inspiring brave mean to you?
Okay, I got a couple of comments. Number one, I would like everyone to think about the following quote. It was given to us by a famous Canadian hockey player called Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky said, "You always miss 100% of the shots that you don't take." And that to me is one of my favorite quotes, because it reminds me that if I don't ask, I don't get. If I don't ask someone for that date, if I don't ask someone for that job, if I don't ask someone for that opportunity, I'll never get. This is what it means to step into your bravery, your courage, the fact that you believe enough in yourself to go through the storms of life or just take risks. At the end of my life, I do not want to be visited by the ghost of missed opportunities who say to me, "Hey, Paul, we whispered in your ear that you could write a book, and you said no. You said no. You were too afraid to do this. Let me show you what your life would have been had you done it, had you taken that risk and that step forward." And it's very true. I've tried many different jobs because I was interested, and I didn't let the what if it doesn't work out? I turned it around and I said to myself, what if it does? And what if I do it and it doesn't? It doesn't matter, because at the end of my life, I won't be visited by those ghosts of missed opportunities who said, "You could have." I would have said, "I did, and I'm happy I tried." Not everything is going to work out, folks, but if you don't try, you'll never know. If there's a song in you, if there's a job in you, if there's a poem in you, if there's a book in you, and you're not doing it, if there's a podcast in you, you're not doing it, guess who's going to visit you on your deathbed? The ghost of missed opportunities, and they ain't going to be polite. So what does bravery and bravery, inspiring bravery? It's exactly this. It is standing in the storm of life and saying, I'm going to get through this. And in fact, I'm not going to run the other way. I'm going through this, because even the worst 24 hours in a day are only 24 hours. There's always another day. And when we look at life and say, you know what, this is it, and I can take it. It's the Rocky mentality. Anybody who's familiar with the Rocky movies, I absolutely love them. They are inspiring, and they remind us that life ain't all rainbows and sunshine. It could be a mean and nasty place, and it's going to knock you down to your knees and keep you there if you let it. But the whole idea is that it doesn't matter how many times you're knocked down. What matters is how many times you get back up, how many times you keep moving forward and going for what you want in life and not letting fear. So brave, inspiring brave is talking to one another, encouraging one another, being available to one another, and to remind each other that we've got this. We've got this. If you find yourself going through hell, keep going. But guess what? Within each and every one of us is a flame. And one of my dear friends here in the audience, Jill Collins, once said this beautiful quote, and I can't quote her precisely, but she said that within each and every one of us, there is a story. There is something that needs to be shared with others. And if we don't share what is within us, then we are doing humanity and each other a great disservice. And that is true. I believe that we have something to share, that we have to be brave enough to share it. And we have to be brave enough to shine our lights into the cracks of others, because everybody is struggling with something we don't know about. But if we are there to support one another, to be brave enough to move through the storms of life, then we are doing something amazing. Heather and Justine and everybody else who has been responsible for bringing this great conference, I thank you all. And to everyone listening, I thank you for, number one, being here, and for number two, being the great people that you are. Just remind yourself every day that you've got this, and step into that bravery. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody else is going to put the gloves of life and fight your battles for you. People can help you, they can support you, but when it comes to the actual moving forward, that's your responsibility. And that's what I want to leave you with.
Thank you, Paul. Such a powerful, powerful message. Thank you so much for your service that you've done in policing and around the world and your leadership. It's an honor to know you, a pleasure. And thank you again for being a part of the Brave Inspires virtual conference.
Thank you, Heather.
Take care.